The rain pounded against the windows of the sprawling Harrington estate like an unrelenting drumbeat, mirroring the storm raging inside Ethan Harrington's mind. At 42, he was the epitome of success, a self-made tech billionaire whose app had revolutionized social networking, connecting billions while ironically disconnecting him from his own life. That night, as he pushed open the heavy oak doors well past midnight, his designer suit soaked and his phone still buzzing with urgent emails, he expected the usual silence of his empty mansion. But what greeted him instead was a voice, sharp, commanding, and utterly out of place. "Shut up," it echoed from the dimly lit foyer, delivered with such authority that Ethan froze, his keys clattering to the marble floor. The voice belonged to Lila Thompson, his black maid of 15 years, a woman whose quiet strength had always been the invisible glue holding his chaotic world together. But tonight, she wasn't whispering instructions to the staff or humming old gospel tunes while polishing silver. She was staring him down, her dark eyes fierce, telling him, the man who signed her checks, to shut up. The reason behind those words would unravel Ethan's carefully constructed life, forcing him to confront the emptiness money couldn't fill. Ethan's journey to the top hadn't been easy. Born into a modest family in a small Midwestern town, he was the son of a factory worker father and a schoolteacher mother, both of whom instilled in him the value of hard work. But ambition burned brighter than family ties. By his early 20s, Ethan had dropped out of college to code in his garage, pouring every waking hour into his startup. Success came like a tidal wave. Venture capital, IPO, Forbes covers. He married his college sweetheart, Emily, in a lavish ceremony, and they had a son, Jacob, who was now 12. Yet, as the billions rolled in, so did the distance. Emily left 5 years ago, tired of being married to a ghost who prioritized board meetings over bedtime stories. Jacob lived with her now, visiting Ethan only on scheduled weekends that often got canceled. The mansion, with its echoing halls and unused guest rooms, was a monument to his isolation. Lila had watched it all unfold. Hired initially as a part-time cleaner, she became indispensable, a surrogate mother figure who cooked meals Ethan barely ate, organized events he skipped, and offered unsolicited wisdom he ignored. Lila, 55, with her warm smile and no-nonsense demeanor, had her own scars. Raised in the segregated South, she had fled an abusive marriage young, raising 2 daughters alone while scrubbing floors to make ends meet. Her skin color had often been a barrier, but her resilience turned it into armor. She saw in Ethan a man chasing shadows, much like her ex-husband had chased liquor. But loyalty kept her there. She believed in second chances. That fateful night, Ethan's arrival was louder than usual. Frustrated from a deal gone south, he slammed the door and muttered curses under his breath, his voice booming through the house as he kicked off his shoes. "Damn investors, always wanting more," he grumbled, flipping on the lights without a thought. That's when Lila emerged from the shadows of the living room, her apron still tied around her waist, her face etched with exhaustion and something deeper, defiance. "Shut up, Mr. Harrington," she said again, her voice low but unyielding. Ethan blinked, stunned. No one spoke to him like that. Not his executives, not his lawyers. "Excuse me," he snapped, stepping closer, his ego bruised. "Lila, have you lost your mind? This is my house." She didn't flinch. Instead, she pointed toward the couch, where a small figure was curled up under a blanket, breathing softly in sleep. Ethan's heart skipped. It was a boy, no older than 10, with tousled hair and dirt-streaked cheeks. "Who's that?" Ethan demanded, his voice dropping to a whisper despite himself. Lila crossed her arms. "That's why I told you to shut up. He's finally asleep after crying himself out. And if you wake him, so help me, you'll answer to more than just me." The boy's name was Marcus, and his story was the thread that would weave Ethan's unraveling. Lila explained it all in hushed tones as they moved to the kitchen, where she brewed strong coffee, her ritual for tough conversations. Marcus was the son of Lila's niece, who had fallen on hard times in the city. Addiction had claimed her, leaving Marcus bouncing between foster homes. 2 weeks ago, child services had called Lila in desperation. The boy had run away again, found scavenging in alleys. Lila, with no room in her tiny apartment and daughters of her own struggling, had nowhere to turn. But she remembered Ethan's empty guest rooms, his boasts about philanthropy in interviews. "You talk a big game about helping the less fortunate, Mr. Harrington," she said, her eyes locking on his. "But when it's real, when it's messy, you look the other way." Ethan protested. He donated millions to charities. But Lila cut him off. "Charity ain't the same as kindness. I brought him here 3 days ago, thinking you'd be gone on that business trip. Fed him, bathed him, listened to his stories. He's scared, broken. And tonight, when he heard your car pull up, he panicked. Thought you'd throw him out like trash." Ethan's mind reeled. Why hadn't she asked permission? Why risk her job? But as Lila spoke, shame crept in. He realized he barely knew her life outside these walls. She had mentioned family troubles before, but he had brushed them off with a check or a day off. The challenges began mounting immediately. Ethan, unaccustomed to vulnerability, wanted to call authorities right away, handle it properly. But Lila challenged him. Properly? Like shuttling him back to a system that failed him? Or like you, hiding behind your work while your own boy grows up without you? Her words stung because they mirrored Emily's parting shots. Jacob had been acting out lately, grades slipping, getting into fights. Echoes of Ethan's own neglected childhood. That night, as Marcus stirred and woke, wide-eyed and trembling, Ethan saw a mirror of his son. The boy shrank back, mumbling apologies. "I didn't mean to be here, sir. Aunt Lila said it was okay, just for a bit." Ethan's instinct was to retreat, but Lila's glare pinned him. For the first time in years, he sat down, awkward and unsure, and talked. Marcus shared tales of hunger, bullying at school for his worn clothes, the ache of missing his mom. It was raw, emotional, far from the polished pitches Ethan was used to. By dawn, something shifted. Ethan didn't call anyone. Instead, he offered Marcus a room, promising to figure it out. But resolutions don't come easy, and the days that followed tested everyone. Challenge 1. Secrecy and logistics. Ethan couldn't just harbor a runaway without legal repercussions. He hired lawyers discreetly, navigating custody battles while keeping it from the press. Paparazzi hounded his gates, sensing something amiss in his sudden low profile. Lila became the bridge, coordinating with social workers who were wary of a rich white man's involvement with a black child's case. Racial undertones simmered, whispers of savior complex from outsiders, doubts from Lila's family about trusting the boss. Ethan faced his own biases, clumsily at first, asking ignorant questions about Marcus's background that made Lila snap. It's not about color, it's about heart. Through it, they bonded over late-night talks. Lila shared her past, escaping Jim Crow laws, working multiple jobs, the pride in seeing her daughters graduate college despite odds. Ethan opened up about his father's death from overwork, his fear that vulnerability equaled weakness. Marcus, slowly thawing, brought joy, his laughter during backyard games, his curiosity about Ethan's gadgets. But challenges escalated when Jacob visited. Jealousy flared. Jacob saw Marcus as an intruder, yelling, "Why does he get to stay here when you never have time for me?" A heated argument ensued, with Jacob storming out. Ethan chased after him, finally admitting his failures as a father. "I built an empire, but I lost my family. Don't let me lose you too." Tears flowed, hugs mended, resolution through honesty. Another hurdle, Lila's health. The stress of juggling her job, Marcus's care, and her own family's needs took a toll. One evening, she collapsed from exhaustion, revealing a hidden heart condition. Ethan rushed her to the hospital, footing bills without question. In the waiting room, he reflected on her loyalty, how she had stayed through his divorce, his tantrums, never asking for more. When she woke, he offered her a promotion, household manager with benefits, time off. But Lila refused charity. Earn it by changing, not paying. Inspired, Ethan restructured his company, delegating more, prioritizing family leave for employees. He sponsored programs for at-risk youth, naming one after Lila. Marcus's custody was granted temporarily to Lila, with Ethan as a mentor, bridging worlds. As months passed, the mansion transformed from a cold fortress to a home. Dinners became lively affairs, with Marcus and Jacob trading stories, Lila's cooking filling the air with warmth. Ethan reconnected with Emily, not romantically, but as co-parents. He even took vacations, real ones, without laptops. The turning point came on Marcus's birthday. Ethan threw a modest party, inviting Lila